and sharing a name and a broad introduction on what you do, because we have the luxury of a whole hour of a small intimate group where we're going to discuss the sustainable consumption in the global agri-food system. It's 8:35 now. We are going to give it a go. We will have people dropping in as we go. It's for us the first time that we do this on the European evening time. It's a tryout to see if that's easier to actually mix into the very busy schedules that everyone has. So welcome everyone. I'm calling in from Barcelona, from Spain, and we have people from different areas of the globe. As we are a small group, we will have a lot of interaction with each other over the next hour. The topic of tonight is, or this morning, I'm sure some people will call in from different time zones, sustainable choices in a global food market. The agenda that we have is we're going to give an introduction to the panel that you have tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon. The reason why we're having this event, and we're going to set the scene. And then we're going to discuss 6 theses. And as we are a small group, we have the luxury that can be super interactive. Tonight, we are myself, Lennart, and Martijn. Is Martijn on the call?
No, not yet. He still has internet issues, but he will join as soon as that's fixed.
Great. Okay. So maybe Lennart, do you want to give an introduction of yourself first?
Yeah, I can introduce myself. So Lennart van der Burg. Actually, I studied Wageningen University and have a background in greenhouses, grew up in the greenhouses, and actually I'm here as a conscious consumer, I can say. So I really focus on sustainability and lowering the footprint. And apparently I did a post on these blueberries, which got quite some attraction. So I can give some more explanation on the post in the background on that later on. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, why don't you do that now? I think it's a good
moment. Maybe I can do it now. So basically, I was really shocked, surprised, you can name it. I mean, I was walking just in the supermarket in the Netherlands, and I saw these blueberries, same packaging, same size, same cost. One is coming from the Netherlands, and the other is coming 10,000 kilometers from South Africa. And when I saw that, I really realized how difficult it is for a consumer to have sustainable choices. Because, I mean, I personally want to eat in the season, want to eat locally, but you really need to do a lot of effort to see where your product is coming from. I mean, it's standing here, but I'm really actively look where is the product coming from. But like a consumer who is rushing in the supermarket, they're not seeing it.
Yeah.
And the question which came up with me from whose responsibility is this? Is this responsibility from the consumer? You really need to think what you should buy. Is it responsibility from the supermarket? Yeah. Is there a really need that we need to get everything anytime, anywhere? Or should we say there should be a limit in our what we as a consumer have access to? And is this really sustainable? And I posted, and I got quite a lot of interactions on LinkedIn. So I think it's good that we have this discussion now.
Yeah,
it's not an easy discussion, but I think there are different levels. From the first level, I would discuss from, should we really have fruit from all over the world anytime? I think that my answer is no, but I'm open for every views on that, basically. Yeah.
Nice, Lennart. Thank you. So we are expecting Martijn, but I'm actually, as we are a small group, I'm actually skipping the idea of a panel because we are then with the whole group as a panel. So maybe we can everyone introduce themselves really briefly on voice? So can everyone one by one introduce themselves? I saw, well, Marco, maybe you can start. And then Diederik, if you can then point different names, that would be great. Just keep it super brief.
My name is Marco Schreuders. I'm a teacher at In Holland University of Applied Sciences. I teach in agriculture and horticulture, and I have a very broad background in all kinds of agricultural supply chains.
Thanks. Great example. I saw Gerard.
Gerard Galtwit, the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs, and I'm in charge for the digital economy.
Great. Next one. Anyone who can grab the mic.
Yes, I see the name of Brianna. I think they're just like alphabetical would work.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Brianna is still here.
Yes, hi. Yes, my name is Brianna. I am a first-year environmental applied science and management student at the Toronto Metropolitan University. I'm very much in the beginning stages of figuring out what my thesis topic is going to be, but I've been exploring food waste and cold chain and how optimized packaging can play a role in mitigating food waste.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Dennis, if I pronounce it right, or Denise.
Hello, Dennis Kirago from Nigeria, Benue State University, MSc in Food Chemistry. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. Fuad, if you're here. All right. Gabriella.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabriela. I'm an environmental engineer. I'm working as now in supply chain, specifically in importation and export from Latin America to United States. So I found this topic very interesting for what I'm learning right now in my career.
Wonderful. Good morning.
Thank you. I saw that Eureka just joined as well. Eureka, could you give us a brief introduction of yourself, if possible? Then I'm seeing Lut Klerks also on the list.
Yes,
Nice.
good evening. Luc Leers from the Netherlands. Hello,
Hi,
Marika. How are you
Luc.
doing?
Long time.
ago. Yeah, I'm Luc Leers. My name is Luc Leers. I work as a project manager at AgroFair, importer of fair trade and organic bananas, located in the Netherlands. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Septian.
Hi. Good night, everyone. I'm Septian Zulfikri. I used to work in palm oil sustainability officer, and right now I just graduated from Wageningen University for my master
Congrats.
degree. That's it.
Wonderful.
Thank you. And last but not least, I think it's a company name, SRR Krok, if I pronounced it right.
No, it's not really a company name. I'm a person, I'm Sjoerd Roquet, retired from the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality. I'm still very interested in issues around sustainable food system, knowing that webinars organized by Marika are mostly very interesting.
Wonderful. That's a great kickoff of the discussion. Well, we're super happy.
Sorry to interrupt, but my mic wasn't working, so I had to
No.
leave the meeting and come back. But nice to meet you all. I'm Eureka Bergerker. I'm based in the Netherlands, and I have a master's in sustainable food systems. And I'm working now for a few years in the industry and currently at a multinational feed producer at the Ethics and Compliance Department. And one of my key topics is human rights in the value chain.
Excellent.
So very curious about tonight's call.
Wonderful. Well, actually, honestly, I'm super happy we're a small group because then we can really exchange and get to a deeper level. So to set the scene, the question is, why is sustainable food consumption important, right? Why does it matter? And for us, so let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Marika. I'm the founder of Open Food Chain. We are a public infrastructure, a traceability infrastructure to make the food system more reliable and more transparent. And we do that by having a technical infrastructure on which companies on board to share claims that they make about their food. And because it's a public infrastructure, that claim can then be verified by anyone who wants. So it becomes more open and more transparent. And that also really states why we think it's important, because, you know, the consumption of food is, of course, a big driver of the food system. And we need to have more sustainable food consumption. Now, it's a huge topic. It's a very complex topic. And we feel that we need to align and, you know, really work towards a better understanding from different parts of the supply chain. And it's great to see that we have government here in the call today. We have private sector. We have some farming components as well. So we have enough parts of the supply chain to enhance our collective understanding of this topic. Now, is there anyone who wants to add, you know, why is sustainable food consumption important to you? And it's just an anarchistic setting now, so just grab the mic if you have something to share on this topic. Lennart, do you want to add to this from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, sustainable food, but in particular, I think sustainability is really important. I mean, we are in the middle of a climate crisis, so we really need to cut down our CO2 emissions. So it's about sustainable consumption. So we are now really especially in the Western world, that we're really consuming a lot, electronics, clothes, etc. So I think we should be people who can afford it, let's put it that way, be a conscious consumer, and especially what you eat, that it's healthy, that it's local, that it's if possible biologic. I think that's organic. I think that makes sense to really think on that. And so for me, it's broader than only food, and also broader than sustainability. But I also realize that it's a privilege if you can think on that. But I think a large group in the Netherlands and I think in Western Europe have the financial capacity and the knowledge to think on that, but probably don't have not always have the time, the possibility, or etc. to do that, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's of course another statement, right? Whether sustainability is a luxury to think about and act on, because you can also take the positioning that actually it's not. Whatever level of income, level of luxury, level of stable environment, you need to be conscientious on sustainability. But we have 6 theses that we're going to discuss jointly in the next couple of minutes. And the first one is actually, you know, of course, the content of the post that Lennart posted a few weeks ago was that, you know, it's difficult to make a sustainable consumption choice because, you know, there's a lot of things that make it difficult. But actually, do we agree? Is it difficult to be a sustainable consumer? And we have 3 answers, and I actually want everyone to type in their answer, A, B, or C, in the chat. So do you think it's difficult to be a sustainable consumer? Yes, no, or somewhere in the middle? It depends. It's a more complicated answer. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Nice. C. Yes. Great. Oh, cool. So we have more C's, I think, right? Diederik, can you help me out here? Because I'm not reading the chat. I think we have the majority of C's here.
It's a majority of C's, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's complex, right? Who wants to elaborate on their answer?
I can do that. Because I'm thinking, like, for me, it's really hard because you can maybe say, okay, for the Netherlands, just consume fruit that are produced here in the Netherlands, you know, that are local. But then I got to know that, for example, apples, they are, I think, stored for 12 months after they have been picked. So then you think, yeah, I don't know, like, what the footprint is related to that, but I can imagine that it's quite something. And also, like, when you would stop eating bananas from Ecuador, it has a great impact in these days on the people living there. So to me, it has become really complex the more you learn about it.
Yes, I think that's probably something everybody can agree to. The more you know you don't know, right? That's
exactly.
this topic very relevant. The next one is
maybe if I can add for the previous
Yeah.
one is like for myself, if I go, I always go to the Odin, and that's a supermarket who only has like local fruit, and that's easy. But if you go to in the Netherlands, the standard supermarket like at Albert Heijn or the Jumbo or you name it,
Yeah.
there's already a bit difficult. And to compare I think it's like eating in the season, eating local. I think there's some standard guidelines which make it quite easily as a consumer to think. And obviously we can make it really complex. This goes from indeed to the example of the apples. But I mean, I think a lot of things are like, here's the example of avocados. Yeah, I mean, the amount of avocados we eating these days are incredible. So is that really like an amount of bananas? It's yeah.
Yeah.
Is it not going too fast? The amount of we eating that? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, Lennart, I think I take from your response, right? That we can actually, there's a lot of stuff we can do to make to consume more sustainable, right? To really shop at the Odin or at a sustainable shop rather than the shop that doesn't care or doesn't seem to communicate about its preferences for sustainable supply chains.
Marike, to just jump in, if you could go back to the slide, you can't see it, but I'm seeing a capitalized no. And I'm also quite interested to know why Marco has it's like the only one, why he has no.
Hi, yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I just had to put a cable in my laptop. Obviously, it depends on your definition of sustainability. And if you just relate it to, say, CO2, then I think it's relatively easy. Then you just have to stick to local produce, and preferably even that stuff that's not stored, and which really limits the amount of food that you eat and the variety that you have. But I think the answer is no. The main question is willingness. And to be very honest, I was deliberating over this just an hour ago when I was eating an avo and a mango in my food. So, but it's a choice, I think. So I made the choice to eat an avo rather than eat cabbage and potatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
If I could add on to that, I do, however, think it's perhaps location dependent. Here in Canada, I'm in Ontario, and food insecurity is at an all-time high in Ontario. I think a statistic came out that close to 20% of homes were deemed food insecure. And in supermarkets, it's very common to, have a pack of 3 cucumbers versus 1 cucumber be 50 cents perhaps more expensive than the single cucumber, which, people are going to buy because the cost of living is so high in here in Canada. But unfortunately, if you're not eating those 3 cucumbers, the consequences of food waste in terms of emissions is insane. And I've recently learned that in the United States, landfilled decaying food is responsible for 58% of landfill methane emissions, which is incredibly, it's a greenhouse gas way more potent than CO2. So again, unfortunately, when it comes to sustainability, as I believe we've all touched on, it's so complex, and there's so many factors that play into it. So my answer is yes.
Yeah, it's complex, right? Yeah. Nice, thanks. I think this is a good starting point to deepen out. So the second statement we want to discuss is what is the core reason that actually sustainable consumption levels are relatively low? And we can define sustainable consumption, of course, in 1,000 ways, but we all have some sort of an idea with it, right? Be it certified, be it organic, be it at least the more sustainable option. Now, is the reason for that consumer behavior? Is it really our habits of actually going for price rather than for sustainability footprints? Is it availability that is just difficult to get? That's difficult to get the right information, but also the right qualities? Or is it affordability? Is it the pricing? Is it the ease of, or not the ease, but really the reach of sustainable food or fruit? Now, again, we're going to ask you to exactly, thank you very much, enter your answers, and it should be one, Brianna. Yeah, so maybe Brianna, you want to, or let's pick somebody else. Dennis, B and C. Explain, why do you think B and C?
For me, I think it's B and C, courtesy of the location, availability in terms of location. Where I am situated now, they call it the food basket of the nation. So there is much food, organic food. But when you go to the towns, there is reduction of these foods. They are not available, yet they are in plenty in this food basket of the nation. Then when it goes to the market, now the towns, affordability is also a problem. It might be there. If we buy it at around $2, then in the town, they will buy it at around $7. Yes, availability and affordability. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else that wants to respond to this? Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I noted for affordability, because, but it's not only the level of the price, but also a lot of people are not familiar with the answer on the question, what's in it for me? When you look at the acceptability of climate change in the Netherlands, that is very, very low. So, and they are not, and people are not willing to take extra measures to tackle causes of the that's what happens when there's climate change damage. Recently, the banks in the Netherlands published a report, and they would go for a climate label to keep to make visible what the possible climate change damage could be on a house. So from the financial perspective, I can imagine that they want it, but there's no one who can explain to someone in the Netherlands what is in it for me, for you, when you would pay more for a product that should be or would be more sustainable.
Yeah, so to have a better link with the benefits it brings you as an individual, right? If you have a more sustainable consumption behavior.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, excellent. Good points. Anyone else on the reason why sustainable consumption is lower than we would like to see it?
Yeah, I think it's there's, in the Netherlands at least, there's a lot of availability if you really look for it. So I don't think for the Netherlands that's not an issue. Affordability is obviously a thing. I mean, but also I think a large part of the Netherlands, they if you see how much money they spend on food, it's like something of 10% of the income. So it's really low. And they spend a lot of money on clothes, electronics, flying. So money is for a large part of the Netherlands not the issue. So I think it's a mix of consumer behavior, really make conscious choices, and a mix of policy and the retail. Because, I mean, yeah, there's also this time and the rushing, and they are glad if they can cook with fresh food and not look where it's coming from. So it's really, it should
busy.
be
too busy.
Yeah, it should be easy. And there you need to have the true pricing. I think we discussed it later on as well.
Yeah. Great points. Let's go to our third. So this is really what you touched upon, Lennart. So who has actually the core responsibility for more sustainable consumption? We have two representatives, or at least people who worked with government in the call today. We have people who work with retail, and we are all consumers in the end. So again, please post your vote. Thank you, Septian. That's very fast. What do you think? Maybe you want to already explain that, Septian. Why
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did a research before in Indonesia, and for my research, I realized that consumer and government play a crucial role in the sustainable productions, because without consumer, the consumer option can affect the farmer to crop to grow crops, and the government play a crucial role because they affect the consumer behavior by their policy. So government and consumer really affect the farmer in produce the foods, and it's affect the consumption for sustainability in the future. That's it.
Nice. Wonderful. Good points. Anyone else who wants to share on this? Maybe someone who hasn't spoken yet would be great.
Well, I think all these parties you mentioned in the slide have a responsibility for it. It's not only the government, it's not only the retail, but also the consumers have an own responsibility. So it's a complex situation, and we do not have to wait for another, but we all have our own role in this.
Yeah. Nice. So it's all our responsibility. Anyone with a different point of view?
Yeah, I agree. On one hand, that indeed, yeah, we all play a role, but I'm also a bit done with the focus on consumer responsibility, because it is so complex, and I don't think it's fair to put so much responsibility on the individual who doesn't have all the information and the knowledge and the interest. And I think governments should take way more responsibility than they do now, and just help us to consume better.
Excellent. Excellent. Anyone who
And I'm
opposes
seeing,
that? Yeah.
yeah, I'm seeing just now that like Mohammed answered A, B, and C. But of course, we're talking about the core responsibility. So I'm quite interested to know if you really think they're all the same, or shouldn't there be like a weight difference, Mohammed? I'm also seeing that Brianna agreed to Mohammed. So maybe if Brianna wants to jump in, that's possible too.
Oh, sorry. I was agreeing with the last speaker's comment about, yes, acknowledging that consumers have a role to play.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there's been a lot of finger pointing towards the consumer, and I am over that as well. I don't know if this was circulated in Europe or not, but a couple of years ago, I think it was Earth Day, and Shell tweeted a poll, something along the lines of like, how are you reducing your carbon footprint today? And had a poll saying like, I'm taking my bike to work, or something along those lines. And again, it was just so hypocritical of Shell, of all companies, to ask how we consumers are lowering our carbon footprint. So again, I do acknowledge we have a role to play, but I think it is more so of a domino effect, and support from government and retail is really necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Because I also think, do we have the luxury to wait for consumers, individual, one by one, to sort of be more responsible? I don't think we have. I think, we have an urgency to move. Actually, we should have moved 10 years ago. We're late, so we need to hurry up. And I think if you think about scale, it's not consumers, right? We can't wait for consumers. It's government and also retail. I think retail has a role to play, and brands, or powerful points in the supply chain. Diederik, can we pick anyone else in the discussion who hasn't spoken yet?
I still want to know Mohammed's opinion, but I'm not sure if he's available. Otherwise, I'm seeing like a lot of A's, so that's quite difficult. I'm seeing that Septian has like ASC.
Yeah.
Of course, we already heard an opinion on that one, but maybe Septian has a little bit more to tell about his opinion. We won't bite.
And otherwise, Gerard, I'm keen to understand, as you work in government, right? What do you see as a trend, being part of the Dutch government and being aware of European movements from governments? How do you see this changing? What do you see as trends? Is government becoming more activated with the EUDRs, the CSRDs, a whole bunch of regulation that's kicking in?
Well, the first place, Marieke, sustainable consumption is not my profession.
Sure.
I'm working in the digital area. And, well, in fact, I would say on the slide, you can see what our role is. Labeling, legislation, things like that. And these things are there, they are in place. And consumers that buy sustainable products can trust the mark sustainable on it. So, in fact, there is a system. The question is, why do not all people use sustainable products? Products are there, legislation is there, certification systems are there. So it's a question of the creation of more the rollout of this sustainable system.
Activating consumers to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it was not. I understand that you're also here participating on your personal notes.
No, I like to represent the ministry more as being consumer. Yeah.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you for that. And I think, taken that we have a whole set of legislation that is being adopted, not only in the European Union, but also in the US, I think actually Canada is one of the front runners in terms of governments that take an active role in the sustainability domain. In Australia, we see a lot of regulation being adopted as we speak. So I think government is moving. Retail, there are some retail shops that are very dedicated to sustainability. And the consumer trend is upwards, but it's slow. It's slow. A fourth theme or positioning that we want to discuss is what we already talked about very briefly, seasonality and local, right? This whole sort of localizing supply chains, being more seasonal, using everything what is produced in your direct distance is becoming more popular. Now, in Amsterdam, the average distance of a plate is over 2,000 kilometers, which is quite a lot, right? So it's not a very local plate that we eat in Amsterdam. Now, how can we increase it? This is not a multiple choice here, but we really want to sort of get your opinions here. So how can we increase the popularity of seasonality? And what are the trade-offs? Because it's exactly this apple example where while a Dutch apple is being stored in a cooled storage for over a year, the apples from India are flying in. And, you know, what are the trade-offs there? And is local the solution? Can we go back to local consumption? Lennart, I'm sure you want to...
I think you need to make a difference, for example, between fresh fruit. Blueberries, for example, it's ridiculous. You're going to fly them in or something from New Zealand to South Africa or countries where there is water scarcity. But on the other hand, if you look at the Netherlands, I mean, we're the largest exporter of onions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with export if it makes sense, and if it's better to grow something else, and you can transport it at some way. But I mean, if you can buy it locally, and then you should do it as a person, as a consumer, I think. And I think the consumer, especially in the Western world, they're a bit spoiled. They think they can have everywhere, any time. I think that's really something. Yeah, I mean, where is the right of consumer to consume whatever they want, and where should the government kick in, or should we have real true prices and include indeed things like water footprint, CO2 footprint, etc.
Yeah.
And there, I think there a certain moment the wall should hit whatever possible from a footprint environmental perspective, and I think people like it. I mean, to buy something from the local farmers, and to really see where it's going to grow. And if you the whole think what's happening in the US, buy things local. There's also geopolitical things in place coming up there. So there are a lot of different reasons why people are government supporting local production.
Yeah, nice. And how is that in Nigeria or Indonesia or Canada? How do you see this topic? What is happening?
In Africa, there is the notion of buying from outside or importing. So many people prefer to take imported foods, imported rice, imported this and that, while there is plenty locally. Yes.
So there's this notion that what comes from far is better.
Yes.
How can it be changed? Is it information? Is it sort of? It's also like what is trendy or what is considered. There's a lot of perception, right? What is perceived as good or cool or nice?
Yeah, for my opinion is to advertise, to publicize that local is also good, local is also of equally importance. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Do we have a view from Indonesia?
Yes, but I'm not Indonesia, but I'm Indonesia, but I'm studying in Netherlands. So
sure. Sorry, Septian.
Yeah, these days the government tried to make the rice productions to feed the billion of people in Indonesia. So they try to make a food estate programs, which is they want to reduce the export of the rice from Vietnam or Thailand. But I indeed agree that we should buy local product, but depend on one product is not sustainable because it makes the huge impact to the environment. As you know, the rice field is not good to the soils, and if they keep forcing the soil to produce the rice for whole season, that means that they will destroy the soil. So it's kind of contradict, and I cannot say anything, but the project now in Indonesia.
Yeah, so there are pros and cons, right, of local production, domestic production. Yeah. Any other view for anyone else on seasonality, local to local?
Yeah, I think it's important, even so my undergrad was a Bachelor of Technology. I focused on packaging, and I think even from that perspective, obviously packaging, yes, it has environmental consequences, but from a food waste perspective, it preserves food longer, or it can help do that. So when you have these long supply chains, like you need packaging. So from that perspective as well, shorter supply chains, you could perhaps limit packaging consumption or plastic consumption. But as Lennart, I believe, was saying earlier, I think in the Western world, yes, we have been very greedy, I think, to say the least, or very accustomed to having, things available always. And unfortunately, I think from like a consumer consumer behavior perspective, having no bananas or avocados available to them all year round will be, it would cause an uproar. But I think, again, with the help of government and, just overall education measures, perhaps that can do something. But yes, it is, shorter supply chains are definitely necessary.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we definitely need shorter supply chains, and going fully local is probably not going to happen, but they can definitely be more short. Now, something that is becoming finally a bigger topic is true pricing. And I actually remember that 20 years ago, this was a topic in, economic theories, that how do we price our goods? We should have a more inclusive way of pricing external impacts. Now, it's good to see that the true pricing debate is picking up a bit more. I still think it lacks adoption. But what do we think about that, right? So having a price that really reflects the cost of production, but also stimulates sustainable production. There's, of course, this tension where sustainable does not always, but can really imply higher costs of production. Lennart, what's your view on this topic about pricing and true pricing? Where indeed, as we just said, right, transportation is a huge component of life cycle, or actually the footprint of a production supply chain.
Yeah, actually, I studied environmental economics, and the economics for every environmental problem is really crucial. So really put a price on the pollution, and true pricing is not there. I'm really a fan of Michel Scholte, that's a Dutch guy in the Netherlands, who really put the true pricing, at least in the Netherlands, on the map, and really calculate the whole impact of CO2 price. And then, for example, CO2 price is not like the current ETS price in Europe, which is €60, but it's really like in order of 300 or 400 euro per ton CO2 emission. And that's only CO2. And I'm not talking about water, not talking about biodiversity loss, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
So if we really are able to quantify that, I think then we really make other choices. And we now talk about food, but also about meat consumptions and all these kind of things. Then people really make other choices.
Money talks. That's what they've always been saying, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the true price, the real cost is really, really important. So I think that's and I think the government is really in the lead there, because I mean, some companies like supermarkets are doing that because that's their identity, like an Odin. Yeah. But if the big supermarkets want to do it, and then there should be really a pressure from one side, consumers, but other sides, upcoming policy to really include these prices. Yeah.
So for those who don't know the Netherlands, Odin is a sustainable retail shop where they have sustainable produce, and they have pricing that reflects the sustainability story behind products that they sell. Maybe Gerard, to ask you from the Ministry of Economic Affairs then, being aware that your focus is on technology, but is this a discussion within the ministry? Or do you see within political debates?
Yeah, this is sure a discussion. And there are systems for true pricing. But you have to make a difference between politics and the administration. The government is the administration. And when it's a political aim, true pricing, then the administration will follow that, make legislation, etc. But we cannot do that on our own. So it depends on the on our parliament, what they wish.
Yeah.
It's not we who can decide these things.
No, you need the politicians, right?
Yeah, and the right side-oriented new government in Holland will probably not have true pricing very high on their agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely a point, right? So I think that's for a lot of countries in the world where there is a political weight or movement to righter governments who definitely are less enthusiastic about true pricing and
yeah, about the pricing, but not. Sorry to interrupt, Marike, but I mean,
No,
for example, we've got now a new political party, the Farmers' Party, I would say.
Yeah.
They're really in favor of local production. So there are different reasons, and they're not maybe so much in true pricing, but they want a fair price for fair product.
Yeah.
And so if I think they will be in favor of at least for nationally to increase the prices of the farmers. They are probably concerned that if we increase the prices, they have issues with exporting because a lot of their product they are exporting.
Mhm.
But in principle, like have a fair price for the products of the farmers, I think that's make perfectly sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's being framed all the time in political as like a tax on a product and a tax going to like on the big pile, yeah, and that doesn't. So there should be like a mechanism that's gonna work, but I think it's not. It's a left or right things too much. I think. I agree that's left are already there and right, but I mean, you should be able to frame it way that it's being positive for the whole society, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good nuance. Thanks, Lennart. Sepchen.
I have a question. If a country give a subsidy to farmer to produce certain crops, and this crop is exported to another country, so even you put the true pricing or tax on this crop, the crop still the price of this crop still so lower. And if you bring it to the market in the destined country, it will able to win the competition with another local crop. So how?
Yeah, so true pricing should include subsidies.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it does. I don't think it does, but because it's still, I think we're just starting to get a better understanding of true pricing. It's focused on external costs like pollution, like CO2, etc. But it should definitely include subsidies or
maybe. Yeah, I mean, true pricing is really on the externalities. The cost is cost is for society, and subsidy is more on how you financing. Who is the producer is taking the burden of the cost, or is the government taking the burden of the cost by subsidy, or so it's more one side is the cost, and other side is who's actually gonna pay for that, and it can be the government to kickstart things, but in the end it should be a net. Everything comes to the consumer pricing. So that's more on the
but I think the point here, you get unfair competition. I mean, there's a lot of subsidy that goes into European production of agri-food, and actually all countries have a lot of subsidy on their food production because we want to have certainty that we can and we maintain food production. But it does influence, of course, competition and pricing a lot. So I do think it's an important component to include in the true pricing discussion. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we're going to move to the last positive note. So, I think we all agree that information towards consumers can be better. And actually, something that was said before is that, we have, as consumers, good information. But actually, that's not the case because there's a lot of fraud in terms of organic certification, in terms of, we know with olive oil, we know with honey, that in the Netherlands, actually 11 out of 14 samples of honey are not honey. They're syrups. They're not honey. They're sold as honey. So we get a lot of false information as consumers. That's researched, and the more we research, the more we know that there's a lot of confusing stuff on information. Now, one example that we know of is Jungle Gold Bali. It's a chocolate bar from Indonesia. And they are very strong on the communication about how their product is being consumed. They make their claims publicly verifiable. And we think it's a good example. And we want to ask everyone here, what are good examples, right? So to end, of course, on a positive note, what are good examples that you know? What are examples that we should get more attention to? Where can we sort of look for positive inspiration? Lennart, do you have anything that comes to mind? What is your Odin? You mentioned a few times. That's a retail shop.
Yeah, I think that's one. But I think the best example is just in your own street, from where you can go at the local farmers where they collect from different farms and sell at the local shop. I think that's a nice example. And obviously you can't there also see from what's their footprint or what's the water use, but at least you know it comes from local, at least most of that, and eat in the season. So but in these things, when you have like combining different ingredients, then it will become really difficult. But because it can come from everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and for example, I know, but that's exactly not a positive example. That for Nigeria, they import a lot of tomatoes from China, whereas their own tomatoes are being exported. And it would say on a tin of Italian tomato sauce, that's Italian tomato sauce, but also these tomatoes are more likely to come from China than from Italy. But good examples. Who in the call has a good example? Where should we look? Where do we get good positive inspiration from? Anyone? Give us some good vibes.
It's hard to produce good examples because Tony Chocolonely, it's a good organization, has disclaimer on its products. And we cannot guarantee that this chocolate is 100% slave-free. When they can't guarantee it, I think there are no good examples. It's quite pessimistic view.
Yeah, but maybe it's realistic, right? Maybe it's realistic, and maybe just emphasizes the need for more attention and movement towards good examples. Because also Oatly, right? Oatly is the oat milk that recently really sort of had a lot of criticism on its growth. So they communicate a lot of positive things on the packaging, but a lot of that is actually untrue and debated. Brianna, do you know of any good example, or do we have one from Nigeria? Or should we conclude this, that we definitely need to hurry up and seek for good examples, reach out for good examples, because there are too few of those?
Yeah, that would probably be my stance currently. I do know that research is being done regarding labels and consumer, perception and trust when it comes to them. Because, again, as you were talking about with the tomatoes, I do unfortunately know that there are certain labels and certifications that really, no work is done behind the scenes to really ensure that they're doing what's being done. Like I think of the what's the dolphin, I don't know if it's used in Europe, the dolphin safe label.
Yes.
So I do know it's a highly researched topic, which is great. But yeah, unfortunately off the top of my head, I cannot provide good vibes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? And I'm actually let's do so we're coming to the end of our hour, and I have 2 questions for each and every one. So let's give the mic to everyone and then end with Lennart. Please give us your summary of or your sort of what's on your mind right now based on the discussion that we had. And can you give your consent that we share this recording on YouTube so people who are interested in the topic can learn from the discussion that we had? So please drop in the messaging if you are okay with that we share the live recording. And yeah, maybe let's start with Gerard, right? What is your take from the discussion? How can we wrap this up for you for today? How do you wrap this up?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a big division between the new ways of commerce and the traditional ways. Two different worlds. And how can we bridge this gap?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more clear than ever to me that it's a division. Both systems are there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's mainstream, I would say mainstream and sustainable consumption.
Yeah.
We have two worlds. The mainstream is a very big, it's too big part, right? So we need to grow the sustainable community, and we need to bridge those worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Next. Diederik, can you point out?
I think for me, of course, I also give consent to the YouTube part. People don't forget that part. But I think for me, it's mainly what I now get from the PowerPoint. It's mainly that there's not a lot of trust in the governmental side, because there weren't like a lot of people that had like a positive aspect or like a positive product that they could think of. So I don't know, like the main thing for me that I got from this PowerPoint is now like really focus on, I don't know, like finding products that do have this aspect. And to, I don't know, like in general, get more information about these laws and everything that's coming up to make it more positive for everyone.
Yeah. Nice. Who wants to go next? Yeah, Stuart.
Yeah, thank you. What I feel is that we focus too much on the case of the Netherlands, trying to achieve in the Netherlands sustainable consumption. But we should not forget that each decision made in the Netherlands have an impact on the global food system and people and their income who are working in that same global food system. You can leave out the South African blauwe bessen.
Yeah.
But imagine the impact for South African farmers and their employers who have much less possibilities than a Dutchman to have an alternative source of income.
Yeah. So take into consideration the global aspect, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks.
I'm confident in showing this on YouTube.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you for that too. Dennis.
Yes, for me, my take home is that all stakeholders, the government, the consumer, the retailers, we all have a place to play in this sustainability or sustainable consumption. And we can always start where we can. As a consumer, yeah, you can start with your own self by going local, going sustainable. Yes, thank you. And I played my concert as well.
Thank you, Dennis. Ezrea. Okay, Gabriela. Septian.
Okay, I agree with the SLR. So we cannot only we cannot just eat from the local farmer. We also need to consider about the global farmers, because they also rely their income with the global consumer. So yeah, global chains also affect the sustainability itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So our reality is a global reality.
Yeah.
We are in a global world. Excellent. Marco? Or Brianna?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I agree with the previous speaker, but we live in a global world, and I think that cannot be undone. So that's something we'll have to live with. And so I have two remarks. One of them, I think that because of the complexity of the problem, I think there are also many different solutions possible. And I'm not saying that it's, there's not one of these will actually might be decisive in a way. So I think it's somewhere up to the consumer to make choices. And if many consumers make just small choices, the impact might be quite big. That's one.
Sure.
Yeah.
So complex problems need complex responses.
Yes. And the second one is also, I think we have not spoken about it, and time's too short for that, but I think there might also be technological solutions here and there possible that can also reduce impact. But I haven't finished thinking about it, so I'll stop talking now.
Excellent. We'll continue this discussion for sure. Lennart, what is your final thought? You're muted.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for organizing. And my take-home message is, I think, look at your own circle of influence. I think we're all here thinking this is an important topic. As a consumer, as a policymaker, as a worker in a retail organization, or as a teacher. I think that if you want to change things, you need to just share these ideas and to try to put it on the agenda. And if consumers start asking for it and retailers are delivering that, and then there's a mandate for politics to make the right policy. So I think, that's maybe my message to end with. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lennart. Thank you. Okay, we come to the end of this. We will share this online on our socials, and please do share it yourself as well, because we want to continue this discussion, and we will definitely have another event to continue on this. For now, thank you all very much. We have a next event on cacao and actually catalyzing positive change in cacao next Wednesday. Do join us. It's at a different time. It's at 3 o'clock European time. Join us there. Diederik will share the link in the chat. And for now, thank you very much for sharing. And I'm actually happy we had a small group so we can get to know each other and share our thoughts on this very important topic. And we hope to have a growing community and a growing community that is able to bridge and make bridges. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. And I hope to see you next week. And definitely let's really continue this discussion in the next event.
Thank you, Marika.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye for now. See you soon.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Bye.